Hello everyone. My name is Haamid Bukhari. I have cleared Civil Services exam 2016 and I have been allocated Indian Corporate Law Services in 2017 batch. Right now I am probationer Indian Corporate Law Services 2017 batch undergoing on-the-job training. So let me talk about civil services, what civil services is all about and what are the different categories that normally we define in civil services. We talk about All India services, we talk about Central Group A services, we talk about Central Group B services. Civil services generally are public services. That means you do not work for profit, you work for good governance, you work as a part of government. And the certain features in civil services are, they are relatively permanent and they are being seen with great reverence. And you contribute for the larger benefit in the country. There are certain attributes of civil services. First is the permanent nature of the job, that once you are being appointed and you will stay in the service till your retirement, that is till you arrive at the age of 60. The second attribute of civil service is the remuneration. After the 7th Central Pay Commission, you get a decent enough salary to stay in the civil services and the social security aspect that is related to civil services. So I'll divide the civil services, I'll talk about All India service and then Central Group A services, and in particularly I'll be discussing about Indian Corporate Law Service. All India service, we all know that IAS, IPS and Indian Forest Services are All India services. The officers are being recruited by UPSC through the civil service examination, and then after training they are being allotted to respective state cadres, where majority of their career part they stay in their respective cadres and serve there in different capacities, both in line as well as in staff. And during certain period of time they do get a chance to serve in Government of India on central deputation, and that is how a character of an All India service is maintained. Apart from this, there are many Group A central services. Some of them, the recruitment to some of them are through the civil services examination, and in other services the recruitment is through other examinations as well, like Indian Engineering Service, like Indian Cost Account Service, Indian Legal Service, Indian Medical Service and so many other services. So roughly there are 19 Group A central services that are through civil services examination. That is Indian Revenue Service, IRS IT, Indian Revenue Service, Customs and Excise, Indian Audit and Account Service, Indian Corporate Law Service. Then there are some account services, there are some railway services, there are 3 services under the Ministry of Defence, the Cadre Controlling Authorities, Ministry of Defence. Then there is Indian Information Services, Indian Trade Services and Indian Postal Services. These are the Group A central services, and apart from this there are 5 Group B central services, that is DANIX, DANIPS, PONDIX, PONDIPS and AFHQ. In the list of 23 civil services that are part of civil services examination, I'll discuss particularly the Indian Corporate Law Service, of which I am an officer trainee right now. Indian Corporate Law Service was actually, as a specialized service, it was introduced in 1967, mainly to implement the Companies Act 1956. And over the period of time, it has seen many changes, and since 2008, it is part of civil services examination, and since 2008, it's known as Indian Corporate Law Service. And so far, 8 batch have been, like ours is the 8th batch in Indian Corporate Law Service. So I'll talk about in general what the service is all about, what is the structure of the service, how the training is being done, what is the mandate of the service, and the pros and cons of the service. Because this video may be seen by thousands of aspirants who may want to opt for the Indian Corporate Law Service. So I want to do a comparative analysis of Indian Corporate Law Services and like what is the future and scope of this service. The purpose and the mandate of the Indian Corporate Law Service is to ensure good governance in the country, to implement the Companies Act 2013, to implement the Limited Liability Partnership Act, to ensure corporate governance, to regulate the corporate sector and at the same time to protect the interest of shareholders, particularly the smaller shareholders. The job is not just mere the file pushing in the office, but the job is to exercise your due diligence. And from the past 5 or 6 years, we have seen that with the implementation of MCA 21 and the digitization process, the scope of the officers and the nature of the job is being changed. We have seen a change in the nature of the job. Now, most of our officers, they do the work of inquiry, scrutiny, investigation, and so many other things to detect certain non-compliances in the Companies Act by the corporate sector. The nature of the work of Indian Corporate Law Service officers is in two different type of offices, which are Registrar of Companies Office, Official Liquidator, and they also serve as Assistant Directors in the Ministry of Corporate Affairs headquarters. Then there are some other attached organizations like Serious Fraud Investigation Office, then there is Competition Commission of India, then there is NCLT, NCLAT, etc. So these are the organizations wherein Indian Corporate Law Service officers are working. So the cadre strength right now, the sanctioned strength of ICLS is 293 officers, of which the breakup is like in the junior time scale. Immediately at the time of your entry as a probationer in Indian Corporate Law Service, you are in junior time scale. That is, your grade pay is 5400 grade, that is level 10. Here you stay for 4 years, and after 4 years you are promoted into senior time scale. Then after serving for 5 years in senior time scale, you are promoted into JJ. Then in JJ, you have to remain there for at least 8 years. Then after 17 years, you are being promoted into SAJ, Senior Administrative Grade. And then after SAJ, you are being promoted into HAJ. Right now, we have one post, one cadre post in higher administrative grade, which is equivalent to Additional Secretary to Government of India. And after the proposed cadre review in which the expansion and the seats are being added, so as a result of which we can say that this sanction strength of 293 will be increased, and at least in the middle level in JAJ and SAJ, we can expect the double the number of seats which are right now. With the liberalization and privatization, we have seen an establishment of corporate culture in the country. And since with the establishment of corporate culture, the job of a regulator has increased. The ambit and the mandate of registrar of companies is to see that whether in day-to-day functioning, the corporate sector and the companies are complying with the provisions of Companies Act 2013 or not. We see that whether annual returns are being filed, whether their board meetings, the minutes of the board meetings are being submitted to the ROC, whether if any decision in the annual general meeting is being taken, whether it is being conveyed to the registrar of companies, how the auditing and audit reports are being submitted, and many other compliance related functions which is mandatory for the companies to comply with. This has to be submitted to the respective registrar of companies. Right now we have more than 20 registrar of companies offices in almost every state. Some offices are small, some are big. For example, if we say in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, there is ROC cum official liquidator. It's a combined office. And similarly, ROC Delhi is a very huge office which deals with the foreign companies as well. Those companies whose place of business is in India but they are incorporated outside, they are being seen by the ROC Delhi. So basically the registrar of companies sees every aspect of the company's functioning right from its birth to that, right from cradle to grave. And over the period of last 5 years, the main change that we see in the functioning of ROC is a shift from normal file pushing to the inquiry, investigation and all those functions which technically a Group A officer should do to ensure the corporate governance. We have seen that the Companies Act has given the various discretionary powers which the registrar of company enjoys in ensuring the public spirit and ensuring the good governance and corporate governance in the country. And apart from the inquiry and investigation, Section 209, for example, I want to take this example. Section 209, it talks about search and seizure. For example, the registrar of companies, after taking the permission from a special court, can enter into the premises of the registered office of the company and can even search and seize the documents that are required to be seized in case there is any default or violation of the Companies Act 2013. Apart from the Registrar of Companies office, our officers are also posted in Official Liquidator. Official Liquidator office are attached with the respective high courts across the country in all the states. The Official Liquidator sees the winding up of the companies and liquidation of the companies actually. But the Official Liquidator, actually the purpose of Official Liquidator and the office is being as per the Companies Act 1956, since Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code has come into picture of 2016, and we have to see what will happen to the office of Official Liquidator after 10 or 15 years. Because right now all the cases pending there are with the high courts, and once all these issues are being settled, then we'll see how these offices, whether it will be abolished or it will be attached with the NCLT, which is yet to be seen. Apart from ROC and Official Liquidator office, the ICLS officers are also deputed into Serious Fraud Investigation Office. SFIO is an organization which is under the Ministry of Corporate Governance. All the big frauds in the country like Satyam, like Sahara and so many other and numerous other frauds are being investigated by the Indian Corporate Law Service officers. The only issue is, so far we could not see the visibility of this service on the ground. And from the past 6 months, or I can say at least from the past 2 or 3 years, we have seen that in the news, most of the times we could see a news coming from the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. The reason being is that after the simplification of the process and most of the incorporation of companies, this work is being centralized and shifted to CRC Manesar. The Registrar of Companies across India are now doing the real work, the scrutiny, inquiry, inspection, and the real work to ensure the compliance of Companies Act 2013. These were the technical aspects that I was talking about as a nature of the job as an ICLS officer. Since it's clear that job is thrilling, you need to use your due diligence. It's not mere a file pushing job. The job is very exciting, very enriching, and you need to be well read. You need to be well versed with what's happening across the country. And I'll give 2 more examples that recently are in the news. For example, you might have seen in the news about the striking of various companies. Section 248 of Companies Act 2013, it talks about that if certain companies do not comply with certain aspects, they are being struck off from the register of the registrar. And similarly, we have seen the disqualification of various directors because the companies have failed to file their returns with the Registrar of Companies and their directors stand disqualified. So the visibility and impact of this office is being seen, and since it's a new service under the Group A Central Services since 2008, and eventually after a couple of years the service has a lot of scope to grow because a lot of new offices are coming up. For example, the ICLS officers may have an option that they may be in the near future, they may be deputed, they may be sent on central deputation to SEBI, they may be sent on central deputation to, they may be deputed to Competition Commission of India, and they may be deputed in NCLT, NCLAT. And since this is an organized civil service, so after a couple of years, Indian Corporate Law Service officers may go on central deputation through central staffing scheme. As of now, it is being stopped by ministry because the sanction strength of ICLS is very small and actual presence of officers is very small. So ministry came up with a circular that as of now there cannot be, the officers are not allowed by the cadre controlling authority, that's ministry, to go on central deputation. Apart from this Registrar of Companies office and the Official Liquidators office, the ICLS officers are posted as assistant directors, then deputy directors, joint directors, director in the ministry itself, in the ministry headquarters. And there is an office of regional directors. The 7 RD offices are right now. The purpose of the RD office is to ensure the administrative control over the functioning and working of the ROC office and OL office. Right now, there are 7 regional directors office, where an officer of senior administrative grade, that is equivalent to joint secretary in Government of India, an officer of the SAG level officer is heading those regional directors office. These are all the kind of job, the nature of the job that I discussed as ICLS officers, what we do. Now I'll talk about the most exciting thing in ICLS, that is the training component of the ICLS. The whole training schedule as of now is proposed to be divided into 20 months, and in our phase 1 training, we were being taught the Companies Act 2013 and Limited Liability Partnership Act in the academy itself. Apart from this, in the second week itself after joining the training, we went for a moot court in NLU Jodhpur. It was a real-time experience how the cases are being pleaded in the courts, and it was a first of its kind experience for us, that how ICLS officers have to at a times present their ministry, present their cases before the NCLT. After this moot court attachment, we went for an attachment in National Institute of Financial Management, NIFM Faridabad. Then we had an attachment, the parliamentary attachment is there with the Parliamentary Board Bureau for 2 or 3 days, and we got a chance to see the Rajya Sabha. Then we went for the presidential visit. Our ICLS 8th batch went for an official visit to the Office of President. Apart from the regular course that is related to our service, we have other personality development lectures in our academy, like the recently Professor MP Singh, the constitutional expert. He came to our academy to give a lecture on constitutionalism and the spirit of constitutionalism in the country. Then before that, we had a lecture on internal security by Mr. B.N. Ramesh, the Additional Director General, CRPF, who's an IPS officer of West Bengal cadre. Apart from that, we had a lot of conferences on corporate frauds, investigation, inquiry, then like how to study the balance sheets, how to do the comparative analysis of the financial statements, and how to unearth the frauds. And apart from that, the most important thing that is on a lighter note, and the lighter part of our training was the trekking, that many of our officers, they went for the trekking. And apart from this, we had an iftar party, which was the part of that cultural bondedness or cultural togetherness of the country, that we had an iftar party in J&K House, which was hosted by Joint Resident Commissioner J&K, and all of the officers, they went there, and that was also a part of the training that is being inculcated. And then from the 11th June, we are on the job training. Our entire batch of 25 people were divided into different groups, and they are being sent to respective locations. For example, Delhi, we 5 officers are in Delhi, then Hyderabad, Chennai, Ahmedabad, and we have completed our first part of on-the-job training with the Registrar of Companies office in Delhi. So after the completion of this on-the-job training, we have to go back to the academy. Then in the academy, we have an NLU attachment with an NLU, and MOU has been signed by our ministry with NLU Bengaluru. Then they will provide us a diploma on corporate and business laws at the end of the 3 months. Then a part of that is the foreign attachment. That is the most exciting in all the central group A services, and I think that foreign attachment component is also part of IAS from this year as well. I'm not sure about earlier, but this time some IAS people 2016 batch, they are being sent to UK and South Korea. So the proposed foreign attachment for ICLS officers is Singapore at the end of October, I suppose. Then after coming from foreign attachment, we have to go for the advanced course in the academy itself. Then after the advanced course, there are many attachments with RBI, with some other institutes, maybe with NSC, BSc, and then an attachment with IPS Academy on forensic auditing, then maybe an attachment with National Academy of Direct Taxes, maybe an attachment with the IRS Customs Academy, and then after the advanced course completes, we have to submit a dissertation and final report. And finally, after the completion of 20 months training, which started with the foundation course in September 2017, because the results came in May 2017, 31st May, and our training started, the 20 months training started with the foundation course in Mussoorie from September. The 20 months training will complete by June 2019, and all of us will be posted in the fields by July 2019. So this is the training structure of Indian Corporate Law Service, which is institutionalized, and ours is the first privileged batch that will undergo this 20 months long training period with so much of excitement. Because since this is a new service, things will take time to settle down, institutionalized processes going on. Finest officers from the ICLS fraternity are being posted in academy to take care of the training and to restructure it. And first of its kind foreign visit for us, foreign trip for us, foreign attachment for us is being proposed by the ministry from this year itself. And I can assure that the future batch will enjoy a lot of benefits if they opt for ICLS. But yes, there are some cons in the service. First of all, I'll again talk about the pros and advantages of ICLS. Among the central Group A services, there are very less number of services that have a public interface. For example, Indian Audit and Account Service, which is very well established and very sought out service after IRS. People opt for Indian Audit and Account Service and IRTS. But I believe that in Audit and Account Service, there is no public interface. You are doing the auditing, you enjoy a good infrastructure in metropolitan cities wherever you are being posted. But the point is you don't have an interface. I think Indian Corporate Law Service is among very few services among the central Group A organized category wherein you have an interface. Recently, we completed our on-the-job training in ROC Delhi office, and I have seen that 2 hours in the morning are being kept by the respective officers to interact with the public. And you see the company secretaries, chartered accountants, they stand in queue and come to your office and talk about their grievances. So this is how the public interface helps you to contribute to the public service and corporate governance in the country. And yes, there are some new institutions which are being propped up. For example, IEPF is there, and then you have a cell of CSR cell is there. Our officers are being posted in these organizations as well. And the Companies Act 2013 is an unexplored area. You have a lot of scope in the future, and service has a bright future. The reason being that after the cadre review, which is scheduled to be like our ministry officers are working on it, and as per the DOPT notification, we need to submit a draft for the approval in September itself, and by next year the cadre review will happen for sure. And after the cadre review, there will be so much of scope and expansion for the officers of Indian Corporate Law Services. And since we are entitled to central staffing scheme as well, and after a couple of years our officers will be deputed in other ministries and may even go to state governments through central staffing scheme, which is there. And after cadre review, maybe we may get some more posts. Like right now, the highest officer in the Indian Corporate Law Service is equivalent to the additional secretary. So because our Director General of Corporate Affairs is the level 15 officer, which is equivalent to additional secretary. And in the proposed cadre review, that post may be upgraded to HAG plus. That means the secretary up to the level of secretary to the Government of India. And apart from the positive things that we enjoy in Indian Corporate Law Services, yes, there are certain deficiencies, there are certain cons. The first and foremost important thing in any Group A service is the infrastructure. Right now, we are short of infrastructure. We don't have much of the good infrastructure that other Group A service enjoys, that other Group A service people are enjoying. For example, IRTS people, they have a very good infrastructure. The audit and accounts, there is no comparison to audit and accounts. And even Indian Postal Service, IP taps people, they have very good infrastructure. But ours is a very small ministry and things will evolve. And I'm sure like in the couple of years, we will also enjoy that infrastructure. And apart from this, yes, without cadre review, since the service was established as a Group A central service in 2008, and in the past 10 years there was no cadre review. So after the cadre review, the promotions will be very fast. Not fast, there will be timely promotions, like after 4 years from junior time scale to senior time scale, then after 5 years into JJ, then you have to stay in JJ for 8 years, then after 17 years into SAJ, then after 25 years into HAJ, and maybe HAJ plus. So these are some of the pros and cons of ICLS as a service. Now among the Central Group A services, you have to take a decision very wisely, what you want to. The general trend that I have analyzed over the couple of years is that after IAS, IPS and IFS, people opt for IRS IT, then they opt for IRS Customs and Excise, then people opt for Audit and Accounts or IRTS, then after IRTS, some people go for railway services because railway services provide you very good infrastructure. Some people go for defense services like IDES, IDAS, there the central deputation options are many in those defense services. In the past couple of few years, I have seen that ICLS has become the 7th or 8th choice for most of the civil service aspirants. For example, for me, ICLS was immediately after Audit and Accounts. It was my 7th preference service. And in my batch, almost all of the officers have put ICLS as 7th option after Audit and Accounts. It is IRS IT, IRS Customs and Excise, then it is Audit and Accounts, then maybe IRTS, and after IRTS it is ICLS, Indian Corporate Law Service. But believe me, if you opt for Indian Corporate Law Service, you won't regret it. For the simple reason that future is very promising, and after the cadre review, things will change, and with the growth of more and more corporate sector, with the more and more liberalization, with the more and more establishment of the companies, and with the ease of doing business that India has to comply for attracting investment, we could see a larger positive scope in Indian corporate law services. Stay tuned to Delhi Knowledge Track for more videos, and if you like the video, just subscribe to this Delhi Knowledge Track for more of such videos on different services, because I believe that most of the public, most of the people, they are not aware about the Central Group A services. For them, civil service is just limited to IAS, IPS and maybe Indian Foreign Services. At most, they are aware about IRS. Beyond IRS, they don't know much about other central services. Delhi Knowledge Track is doing a wonderful job. They are interacting with the officers of different services, getting their perspectives on the services, and making people aware about other Group A central services that are equally contributing to the part of good governance in this country. Thank you.